Hello, good morning, good afternoon. That was a little loud. Good night, depending on where you're watching. We are here, Rinkside. We are watching the women's practice. I have with me good friend, kind of friend. I don't know what she is. Actually, she's a great friend. Mariah Bell, thank you so much for joining us here today.
Yes, absolutely. I'm so excited.
Great. So let's just get
Let's
right
get
on
into
to it. We're going to kick it off. And taking the ice right now is the first group of women.
Be able to look back on this and be really grateful
Yeah.
for it. And the other thing with her and anybody else that I always love about competition, it's two parts.
Oh, yeah. I was just about to ask about that.
So, no matter what happens in the short, you just gotta give it your best in the long. And the other really cool opportunity with a free skate is if you've had a short that's maybe not the best, when you like kill a long program, it's so much more satisfying. Even I
Yes.
feel. So
I'm really excited for
to
that.
see.
Like, I mean, I know that sometimes that can trickle over into your next day or your next performance,
Yeah.
or you make the choice of finding how to really deliver and make sure that that doesn't happen again. And I know
Sure.
that sounds like a choice, but at the end of the day, like I think it can. Like
Oh,
it's
absolutely.
you can really make a change
Yes.
from one day to another, and I'm really excited to see what she and all the other women out here are gonna produce.
Yes. Me too. I was listening to. I was trying to learn from myself yesterday. Okay.
Okay.
So I listened to our practice, not
Love
all of
that.
it because it's like it was long.
Yeah.
But I listened to some of it, and I would just like to say there are points to somebody who can count how many times I say
You know? Oh,
Mhm.
I would love that. Yeah, we could make it a game if you
I'm
want.
not sure if anybody can count that high.
Oh, yeah.
But
I mean, I can. I got like, I think 10 fingers. Yeah, we got 10 fingers, so we're already
And
up.
now that I've said it, I'm going to say it 10 times more.
Love
but-
it. Sounds good. I'm ready for it. You know?
you know. What about, I mean, this event, the events for the ladies are back to back.
Mhm.
So that's not always how it is at every competition. Sometimes you have the short program, a day off, and then the free skate. Did you guys treat practice differently in the morning when you had competed the day before?
I don't necessarily. We wouldn't treat it very differently. I mean, I didn't really have a preference. Some days I did like having some events. I liked having a day in between.
Yeah.
I always like, oh, it's nice to just go in and focus on the short, and then have a day to like reset as well. But in terms of this, like having days where you're competing the short last night and the free today, I think really just like closing out yesterday and then starting today is a brand new day,
Yes.
and which means brand new opportunities in
Yes.
front of us, and realizing that you can make a change at any second within a program. It's
The short program practice, the incentive to do jumps in the second half, you get that bonus. It used to be that you could do basically all of your jumps in the second half, and then the judges, I think, wanted a bit more balance.
yeah.
So they changed the rules, so now the final 3 jumping passes in the second half of this program, the free skate, will get that bonus.
10%, right?
10% bonus, yes.
And it's you're gonna see maybe more combos in that second half as well.
That's usually a pretty strong strategy.
It's like double down and rack up those points.
That's right, yes.
Did you do that?
I did, and I also liked to do my higher scoring, solo jumps in that second half as well. But in dance, is that a thing? Do you get bonus for any elements?
No. I mean, we stay on the ground pretty much the whole time, except for like I think 22 seconds the girls in the air, minus like assisted jumps. But in dance, no. I mean, we were talking about that yesterday. Like, if we were to do it, I feel like I asked Jackie, like, what would you want to see if there was a bonus? And he was like, 1-foot sections in the free dance.
Yes.
But like in the last minute. But I could guarantee you, there's like no scenario where a team would, I think, actively choose that, because your legs are. I mean, we both know. Like at the 3-minute mark, like we need to like surf. I gotta ride those waves. No more paddling is happening. Maybe 3 more good crossovers in that last minute's gonna happen, and after that, I'm just Yeah.
You mentioned dancers don't leave the ice, but Jean-luc, I will say I fell on a bracket at nationals in the short program. I skated this really nice short program, and then I fell on a bracket.
I remember that.
Do you?
Yeah, I do.
And I was like, these dang turns, man, they're hard. And it was because I was probably a little tired and like excited too.
Yeah, you're like, ooh, hard work's done.
So basically, if I had a full program of those, I don't think it would go well for me.
Yeah, full program of brackets?
No, just like turns or like focusing on edge quality in general, it wouldn't have been good for me.
Well, that's super fair. I mean, they'll sneak up on you if you're not careful. And I think that like goes too to a lot of these skaters, just not even in terms of just the turns, but recognizing that you're not done until the music's off.
Absolutely.
And even then, like, you don't really want to fall in your bow when you finish.
Right.
But I think that a lot of times skaters, and I very much have fallen in that trap where you think you're done. You're like, oh, we're home and dry. I got 30 seconds left. Nothing really on the table that's going to challenge me. And that's when mistakes happen.
Yes. Yep. That's something that happens with single skaters for sure. When they finish that last jump, you can kind of see the weight being lifted.
Yeah, exactly.
We mentioned yesterday, strategy.
There it is. That's twice. I'm going to double count that one. See you later, alligator.
But with this free skate practice, I think we'll see even more jumps being omitted just because the program is longer. And so they're really conserving energy. We mentioned yesterday, we mentioned that they competed yesterday as well. I think that kind of factors in too. But again, it's just a time to get your legs underneath you, feel what you need to do, feel comfortable for a competition.
Speaking of like that conserving of energy and whatnot, after the short program, would you be, Ashley brought this up, but like going into your free program practice, were you more tired? Was that more like physical, or was it like nervous system, like physiological? How?
Yes.
What was it? What was the fatigue, and where was it driven from?
I think it was pretty emotional.
Oh, yes.
Because if you have a short program that goes really well and you're really excited, that can be tiring in its own way.
Yes.
And then if you have a short program that is unfortunately not what you're capable of, or just it wasn't your day, that's also tiring emotionally.
It's so tough.
Yes.
Just in the day, like the whole day as a whole, it's not just the 3 minutes that you're skating.
Yep.
It's really like, the days leading up to it, but it's that emotional regulation, which is so challenging to do. And I think
challenging.
And then people don't see, there's press conference afterwards if you're in it, but then there's sometimes doping that follows that. And then you're not getting back until 11 o'clock if your event starts at even 7.
Yep.
And then you have to eat dinner, and sometimes it takes hours to let the adrenaline
I was just going to say, you've got to decompress then after all of that as well.
Yes, it's so challenging. And then sometimes you're only getting 4 or 5 hours of sleep.
Yes.
And you're not getting good quality sleep because you're now oh, wait, I have to do it all again, but longer and probably harder.
Again, we mentioned training. Everybody comes here very trained. We're working really hard in practice,
Yep, there it is.
But I would sometimes compete my short program, and in the last spin, I would think, I don't know how I'm going to do a long program tomorrow. I'm exhausted.
Oh, yeah. I have to be so honest with you. Sometimes we would hit, I'd say 98% of every time we competed a rhythm dance or a short dance, as soon as I hit the end pose, the fact that I wasn't I was oh, I have a free program tomorrow. It was so annoying that was the first instinct, oh, great. Okay. Free program.
I remember several times being in my last spin and thinking, I definitely trained. Why am I this tired?
Yes, so much. I really, it's so tough. It's such a mental game, and to be on and that aware, and also all the other engagements that happen too, meeting and seeing all these people, the emotional tax that comes with this is crazy.
Yeah.
Speaking of, how many times is Mariah going to say, If you guys want to keep track on Twitter, on X, tweet at us at US Figure Skating.
This is going to make this really hard for me. I'm going to try not to.
I think it is not for me. I think now I have a really clear intention. I'm just going to try to set up questions and different comments.
That's so
you're gonna,
rude, and
yeah,
also something
exactly.
you would do. It checks out.
Oh, we're gonna walk right into this one, Mariah.
Really difficult combo there.
Yeah.
Triple X, triple loop. Nicely done.
I don't know. No, just kidding. That was great. Beautiful skate. She carries flow very easily.
Yeah. Very easy to watch. She was one we talked about yesterday having great presence on the ice. I love how she fills up the arena.
Skating now, Olga MIKUTINA, representing Austria, to be followed by Livia KAISER.
I'm gonna guess a clock. Did you ever do run-throughs at competitions? I mean, other than the event?
I would, when I would first get there, so the first practice, my formula was to always I would do a full program. This was not a day that I was competing. But I would not do combos. So it was my way of getting a full program done without doing everything that I still wanted to save some of that energy.
Yeah.
Not energy like cardio, but like all the good juju.
Yeah,
I
I
wanted
understand.
to save it for the competition. But I felt like, I was doing every jump, although it was plain. I was doing a jump in every jump space. I was doing my spins. I was doing my footwork.
Okay, so you were really just missing the second part of some of the combos then.
Exactly, yep.
Oh, wow. That's like quite a bit still.
Yeah, it was like I felt a good formula for me. And I
Nice.
stuck to it for probably the last 4 years of my career, I would say.
Wow.
Did you guys do full run-throughs?
Rarely.
Yeah.
Rarely. Like, I got too tired.
I feel
Through and through.
Well, I feel it's different with pairs and dance. You guys have lifts. So
Yeah.
that's a different component that obviously single skaters do not
Yeah.
think about.
That's fair. I think that like we have done at some events, but I never really loved it. It did build confidence and like you trusted like, oh, I just need to do that again.
Yep.
But the problem is the times that we did do it, more times than not, were the events that we ended up having mistakes at. And the program itself was so good in practice.
Yes.
People are like, oh my gosh, like that's amazing. Like do it like that.
Yes.
And then there was like either this pressure of like, oh, just like practice, like no
Yes.
problem. But you, like you said, juju, like I don't really believe in juju, but I do believe in like having those moments.
Yeah.
And if you have the moment a little too early, like I found that when we did do those run-throughs, because we wanted to perform it well,
Yep.
that we used up that performance. Now at the Olympics, it's a different conversation because you're there for such
So
a long.
long.
Yeah,
Yes,
exactly,
yes.
and it's a different thing. But I don't know, like it's weird if I reflect back on like what worked and what didn't work, and the times that we did that, I was like, it's kind of interesting. That's when the mistakes usually came to fruition
That
more.
was the exact same for me, and kind of why I came up with that formula of no combos.
Right? I was
Save
like,
something.
yeah, it's like I'd rather not know and just kind of experience it in the moment.
Absolutely.
It's like at the beginning of every year, you do your first run through, and you're like, I'm actually not as afraid because I don't know when
Yeah,
I'm going to get
exactly.
tired, and it's good.
You're more open-minded, I feel.
Uh huh.
Really nice triplets, triple toe.
I'd like to see a little bit more finish through her movements. I think that we're like getting 75% of a full movement. Now, it could be because of practice, but
Yeah.
I noticed that in the short program practices as well. Like we're almost getting the full stretch of some of the arms and hands and legs. Like
Yep.
when you have such elegant lines.
Yes, I was going to say, she's so beautiful and tall.
Yes.
It would be nice to see that extension all the way through.
I just want to see that finish. We've been asked, are the ads on the boards ever distracting for the skaters? And what about the audience? Any audience etiquette tips? Oh my gosh, so good.
What
I
a
have so
good
much.
question.
I have so much.
That's a really nice question.
You want to take the first part, the
ads?
Yeah, talk about the ads.
I don't think I remembered ads ever being something that I was really paying attention to. It might have been more so on practice.
Yeah.
When you get to certain events, though, I feel there actually aren't ads on the boards. I don't remember if there were at the Olympics. I don't think so.
I don't think so. Just the rings.
It was just, yeah.
Keep going. Actually.
No, but I don't think it was ever really something. I do see one that says ISU Worlds 2025. I do remember when it would like be for advertising for another competition, I'd almost feel a little bit more nervous. I'd be like, oh, I really hope I'm there.
Yeah, exactly. The only time I got distracted from ads would be if it was like food related.
Oh, sure.
I love that. I mean, that was a thing for audience members for me. Caitlin used to get so, like, she's like, whatever, dude. Like, you just do your thing.
Yeah.
I'll get to that in a second. Distracting from the audience. No, I mean, like, I was notorious for this. Like, on practice ices, to make me a little bit more chill, I like to interact with the audience. Like during the practice, verbally.
Yes.
So I would skate past people and ask them what they're eating.
I love that.
And then like someone like at a Skate Canada once had like a bag of Doritos, like, yo, are those Cool Ranch? And then skated another lap, and then our music played, finished the program, go back around. I was like, you finished that bag yet?
I love
and then by the end of the practice, he went to the concourse, got me a bag, and then he gave me a bag. So
that's
like,
so cool for them too.
Yeah,
I love that.
There was another time in Finland, some lady was like knitting socks at the same time, and then by the end of the event, she gave me a pair of socks.
No way.
Yeah, so like I loved that kind of interaction.
That's awesome.
But I think in terms of distracting, the only thing that I find distracting is when I see someone texting. That
sure.
for me, because like I feed so much, like first off of Caitlin, but I know the audience is there. And like when there was those external moments that I would like look out and try to invite them into our space.
Present.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly.
Yes.
Yeah, I found that like then I would have a brief moment of judging what I'm doing and just tell myself the story of like, oh, am I not doing enough?
Right.
Am I boring? Like,
Sure.
oh my gosh, I'm clearly whatever you're looking at is more important than what I'm producing. So that would be the only thing which I was like, oh man, like when I would see that, and like you could be clearly just checking the scores, but my perception of that was like, and that's on me 100%, but I'd be like, oh my gosh, like clearly I'm not doing enough of a job to bring you into and stay in my performance.
That. Yes.
Any etiquette tips for you of the audience?
I don't think so. To be honest, and this is not to be disrespectful in any way, I kind of was so focused on what I was doing that I wasn't as aware, especially when I was competing, of kind of what was going on with the audience.
Yeah. I'd say actually I do have another one. Keep going though.
I just think, and it's not like really that distracting, but the only thing I would really remember, well, I would remember when people would get very excited. Obviously that's exciting.
Yeah.
But I remember like if I did have a mistake, it would be like this collective like, oh.
Yeah.
And I'd be like, ah, dang it.
I think in another etiquette one is just like understanding that we are, and you referenced that quote,
Yes,
the man in
the
the
man
arena.
in the arena.
And I think that understanding that like you're very much entitled to your opinion as a volunteer, as a fan,
Spectator, yes.
and as a spectator, but I think that understanding that it's very, very hard to be out here doing this, not just
Yes.
physically, but like on so many different levels. So like making comments about skaters, or what they're
Yes.
wearing or what they look like, even just their skating in general, like you're very much entitled to it, but like making it known for the skater to hear or see, I think is like
$1,000 depending on
oh yeah, no
my
doubt.
level, and how many rhinestones and crystals and bedazzlement was on it.
Yeah, and the worst was when you got a costume and it was good, but you knew it wasn't it, and then you'd have to do another one.
I did that a bunch. Yep.
Oh my gosh, that stuff catches up to your bank account real quick.
Yes.
And we're not really out here making money, by the way.
No.
we are funded by our federation to an extent, but even that top tier of funding doesn't fund everything.
That's right.
And so I think that like when you're getting costumes, I'd say like for me they'd be averaging about 1,500 to 2,000 a costume.
Yes.
And now understanding, yes, I have pants and a shirt, not a dress, but and I really wouldn't get much rhinestones. But I know skaters that are getting dresses that are $4,000 easy, no question.
Yes.
Like that's the bill, and then you're also needing to get a second one because either it's not appreciated, doesn't fit, or it works really well, and with wear and tear, you need a second one for the second half of the season.
Absolutely.
So it's not uncommon to have skaters to be paying like upwards of $10,000 for probably a season of costumes. That's not including your gala outfits or exhibition ones. Now you can reuse those sometimes.
Yeah, that's
but
true.
we're not allowed to use short program or free program outfits or programs
from that competition in the gala, right?
From that competition in the gala. So like you're having to bring another one and prepared for another thing. I mean, perfect example is Elyce Lin at the Olympics wore Olivia Smart's dress because she's like, oh, I guess I'm doing the gala.
That's right. I remember that. This was a nice run through for Elyce. She looks fierce. She looks zoned in.
I was going to say, she looks really locked in today.
Yes.
She's really minding her own business.
Yes.
Which I am such a big fan of.
Absolutely.
Just do your thing. Show up and do your job.
Yep.
And take the feedback that you've gotten from your team yesterday and just kind of see how you can tailor that for today.
Yes, absolutely. And I know that she was a bit bummed after yesterday, but I've got good vibes for her today.
Yeah, me too. These are great questions you guys are sending in, by the way. Please feel free to send as many as you want. We'll do our best to answer them.
Yes.
Just big shout out to all the fans coming to watch these practices, too. I think it's so amazing. And I see familiar faces that
same.
like. It's so heartwarming. They almost become... And I don't know if it was for you too, but like there were certain people that I'd see, whether it was like a Brandon Cycle or part of our team, Gretchen, and obviously your coaching staff that are like kind of grounding figures that like when you're out there, you see them, you don't say anything, you look at them and it's like,
you feel good.
And there's some fans even in this arena where like every single nationals that I've been to or other events that they were also at, and like you get accustomed to like when you hit one of the corners and you see them, you're like, oh, it's okay, this is cool.
Yeah, I love that. I agree.
So yeah, big shout out just to the fans.
And it's nice too when we are. I mean, it's not easy to skate in an empty arena. So, I mean, we did it at the Olympics, but
sick. Well, there were fans, but they were like 3 tiers up.
But it's nice to feel supported while you're warming up, while you're practicing.
Yes. Great questions, though, especially the audience etiquette one.
Yeah, that was. I've never been asked that before, and I really appreciate
loved
that.
That question. Great. I think it's so important. And again, like everyone is entitled to their opinion. It's just understanding the time and delivery of it, because there's been definite scenarios, I'm sure, for both of us that delivery, intention, I'm sure, is pure, but like delivery is terrible, and timing was even worse.
Yeah. Just there's room to respect everybody. We're all.
That's right, doing the best.
We're all doing our best.
That's it. All right, group 2 under the way right now. There's some cool costumes. Whoa, Brady's costume's sick.
Yes.
Yo, I want some. I want that. I wear that for Halloween, but it's a pantsuit kind of vibe.
There's gonna be a fan that's gonna make you one now. I love it.
I would love it. I'm 5'6", men's kind of medium size. I'm kind of in between. Not really a small, not really a medium. Uniqlo sizing works great for my body, actually.
Does it? I love that.
Yeah.
Uniqlo's great in general.
Big fan. So as I mentioned earlier in some of the groupings, I'm really looking for the difference of how movements are connecting, and that attention to detail for me is so important. The difference is like between a Michelin star and McDonald's. I love.
Oh, hold on though.
No,
McDonald's is fantastic.
It's fantastic, but delivery is
It's
not
different.
great. But you understand, right?
I know
it's
exactly
fantastic,
what you're talking about.
but then it comes in a paper bag.
100%. No, I understand.
And what I want and what I do see from a lot of these skaters out here is that level. Like, give me a Michelin star. I want the service. I want that free dessert, and like, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, and yesterday we mentioned we'll see a lot of similar technical content.
Yes.
And the delivery and the performance and how much they're enjoying their performance is what's going to really separate them.
So much. And I like staying engaged yourself rather than checking out and mentally going to what's next can go such a long way. I don't necessarily need a bigger amplitude of movement all the time, but like energetically, I want you to hold that space on your in-betweens so you don't lose me.
Yeah.
And I think captivating your audience, like great skaters and performers are like I mentioned before, kind of weird, but like puppet masters in the way that like you invite them to your world and you can take your audience and your judges on a journey, right? Like you're letting them kind of just get a feel of where you're at and making them into like your world, whether it's fun or happy or sad, and such a strength.
They get to experience those emotions
so
with you
much,
for sure.
so much. I'm so hungry now that I started talking about McDonald's.
I'm always hungry for McDonald's.
I know.
Okay.
That would have been such a good sponsor.
Should we get it today?
Oh, we should.
Can we get McDonald's today?
Could you imagine that as a sponsor?
Do you know what I was really bummed about, JL?
What?
So we qualify for the Olympics, okay?
I know. I mean, not about that. That was sick.
That was cool. That was
yeah,
okay.
we qualified for the Olympics. Sucked.
It was the worst. But every other Olympics that I can remember, McDonald's has been a sponsor.
Yeah.
And that means that athletes get free McDonald's.
I know.
At all hours of the day in the village. And you know what? They were not a sponsor.
No, I know. We got KFC and Pizza Hut, which also, don't get me wrong, sounds
great.
Sounds
Are
super
they
great.
McDonald's? No.
I just like those golden arches take me somewhere.
Oh.
I should have been sponsored with my hairline, not going to lie. That widow's peak looks like a golden arch. All right, if you have any questions, send them to Mariah and myself. You can send those on X at US Figure Skating. We're doing our best to answer these. We'll see what we can do. If you have any comments, too, please, by all means, say them.
Yes.
Audience etiquette, keep it nice.
I'm excited to see. I feel like maybe it was the same for you guys. From one program to the next, usually you'll see athletes try to show a different range, right? So if you're skating to a slower, more emotional short program, maybe you've got a higher upbeat or more intense free skate. And so I always love seeing the differences between the two programs for athletes.
Yeah, me too. And I find it's hard to find an athlete that has two good programs a season.
Yeah.
Like you have one great program.
Yes.
And one good program.
Absolutely. Both solid, like, but there's one that's like, wow, they're really connected to that.
Exactly. And it's when you can get it, and I think like you can get it, but it's like to get that season where you have both great programs is when it's like you just knock it out of the park.
Followed by Yuna PINZARRONE.
I love the simplicity of
I was just going to say
Nina's dress.
the red dress. A+. Love it. It's so classy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but like a McDonald's sponsor would be good. Okay, I'm done. I'm sorry.
Can we keep going with this, though? Maybe if we manifest it, it'll just happen.
I'm such a believer in manifesting.
I'm not going to come back, but like I'm not saying I wouldn't come back if McDonald's.
I'm not saying I wouldn't.
I'm not going to, but.
That's fair.
This warm-up session has ended.
Get Brandon Fraser to come back. Just pitch him. Our first skater from Korea, Minchae.
She had a really nice skate yesterday. You'll usually find that the athletes in the second group have maybe had a stronger short program. They've got the higher scores leading into the free skate.
I think what's been so interesting for me is actually seeing everyone's birth year come out.
Does it make you feel bad?
It doesn't make me feel bad.
I'm like, wow, I feel old.
I think it makes sense to why my ankles feel the way they do, but I'm like, woo-wee. Checks out a little bit.
Well, that's something that's so fun. I mean, I've only been retired for 2 years, but I do feel like there are quite a few skaters that I don't know, and they're kind of young and new on the scene, and it's so exciting, and it'll be so exciting to watch them over these next several years as well.
I completely agree.
You'll see a lot of outside edge changes in spins.
And it's a level requirement,
It's
yes?
a level requirement, yep.
You've been asked a question, Mariah. How do you know when to stop rotating in a jump? You're rotating so fast. Is it by feel or visual?
Oh, good question. I think it's definitely feel. You don't see really anything when you're actually rotating because, like they mentioned, you're rotating so quickly. But that's something that comes with the build-up of learning all your jumps, right? You start with singles, you go to doubles, then you go to triples. So you spend a lot of time really honing in understanding how to rotate and when to exit the jump. So I think it's a feel thing, and it just comes from all the years that we spend learning all of these jumps.
Great. We've also been asked about just the efficiency of the skaters in this grouping, like the skating and stroking efficiency and the speed and flow. So throughout this, we'll try to be like honing in on that as well.
Yeah.
With that efficiency, like, I mean, again, no one likes to get tired. You're very much going to get exhausted in a free program. There is no doubt about it. I don't mind how fit you are.
Right.
And in my opinion, if you don't finish a free program exhausted, I feel like you could have given a little bit more.
Yep.
That's the way I always perceived it. And Charlie White actually said that to me when I was a lot younger as a skater. And I think that you could always see that in their skating, is that they were spent at the end. And that's something that is obviously giving everything you have. But in terms of efficiency, it's in a program, what I'd love to see is finding ways that when I did run-throughs, when Caitlin and I did run-throughs, it wasn't a goal of like how hard can we push for 4 minutes. It was like I want to have pushing moments, and I want to see how long I can make those pushing moments last by transfer of weight and like using my glide.
Yeah, that's really what efficiency comes down to, using your flow.
Yeah.
And that does come from, training.
Yeah.
I agree, though. I mean, the point is that you do want to be exhausted. You do want to feel like you gave everything, and you can give more if you're trained.
Oh,
So,
absolutely. It's a fine balance, right? Like you got to train. You got to
Yes.
train and find all those pockets.
yes.
Kids are running away. They're afraid of a handmaid wouldn't get far. It's
Her dress is just stunning.
Okay, they just said Handmaid. I feel like this is from Handmaid's Tale, which makes sense. Have you seen that show?
I have not.
They wear red in the show, so that makes sense to me.
I love the dress. The
Yeah, I love
color
it
on
too.
her is just so piercing in such a
Yeah.
good way.
harder.
If we're talking about efficiency, though, like, watch Nina here. She skates. Every time she's transferring her weight from back to front, any of those little hops, there isn't like a readjustment period from the center of her balance. Like, the core of her body where the hips are, it's like, yes, you can say hips are back and things like that, but I'm looking at just like general transfer of weight. And I think efficiency too comes down to a lot of like the reference point of bouncing a basketball. The same concept of like when you bounce a ball, it stays constant. I can quicken that tempo and I can slow it down.
Right. Yeah,
But
yeah.
if I stop momentum, then I have to restart momentum. Whenever I'm working with people, I always ask them, what do you think's harder, doing 4 minutes of hockey lines or 4 minutes of just constant skating? And they always are like they both sound hard. I'm like,
Yeah.
well, they are.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
the stopping and starting is way harder.
Yes.
Once you have
Agreed.
that momentum rolling, surf it, and then add a little push here and there, extra power, and you surf those edges.
Yes.
The perfect example for me of like efficiency and power would be Patrick Chan.
Yes.
I mean, I know
That
he gets
rolling edge, the
my-
glide,
Yes,
yes.
out of a corner, he does that back outside little hop mohawk, and he'd cover
I can still
20 or 30
envision
feet.
it. Yes.
2 crosses, back outside mohawk, quick change edge. He's one corner to the other on an Olympic
Yes.
size, like
Yes.
just absolutely impeccable.
And I feel like, you know, a lot of that comes from knee bend too, really getting into the ice.
Oh,
if you're
100%.
skating above the ice, it's going to be harder to maintain that flow. But I remember like Patrick, and even what we're seeing here with Nina, she's got really great knee bend.
Yes,
And that's what's helping her carry and continue all of that flow.
so much.
When you see a skater that's a little bit more tense or skating a little more above the ice, they're a little bit stiffer. The skating comes across a bit more choppy.
Yep.
When you're able to really sink into your edges and sink into the ice,
Yes.
it just carries really nicely.
I mean, speaking of that, like I think that I just looked up and Benoit did this program, Benoit's show, and you can see first off with the way that it starts, but
Yes.
that in terms of that efficiency, like he was an ice dancer,
Yeah.
and that's something that he is understandably a very clear master in,
Right.
knowing how to perfect those moments to carry speed. I'd love for her to be a little bit more patient on that, just to really hit those notes. She was hitting it, and then the note was following. Ow.
Yeah, we talked about this yesterday. Really stunning.
Wow. Easy to watch.
Very easy to watch. Some of these, you know, sometimes you watch a program and it just feels like it flies by.
Yes.
These are, you know, 4-minute programs, but sometimes they just feel like they're just gone in a blink.
Yep. Exactly. My fave.
Next up, Wakaba, she was so good yesterday. She actually opened the event and just set such a good tone. She was so awesome. Hobby shopping, same girl. Love shopping.
Buy all the things. Running edge that she has out of her jumps is.
So nice.
Another person with great skating skill. Like, it's effortless.
Yeah.
The power that she creates here.
She reminds me a lot of Kaori Sakamoto, but
Yes.
I mean, they're both Japanese, but they just both have such great speed and ice
Yes.
coverage.
But, I mean, at the end of the day, that comes down to the base of their skating skill.
Yes.
It's coming down to that awareness.
Yes.
I had worked with Kaori a little bit when she'd come to
Uh-huh.
Montreal on skating skill
Yes.
things, and it was
Yes.
so fun.
Yeah, I bet.
Just to like really put challenging exercises out for her and like give her some cues on what I think would help, and it was just like such a fun experience to
Yeah,
work
I'm
with her because
sure.
like I mean obviously I'm out there to have a great time and
Yeah.
yeah, it's just so fun to work with such an elite level group
Yes.
of people. What I really notice, and it's
Nice.
maybe hard to see from the naked eye, but like with Wakaba referencing that bouncing ball feeling, like it's more about continuing momentum, and I notice it so much with her skating. Like the transfer between foot to foot is always so constant,
Yeah.
and even if she's holding an edge, the energy still has somewhere to move. Like
Yeah.
energy does not like sitting still.
Right.
So finding ways to always manipulate it and put it in a direction that you'd like to go, I think is such an exquisite level of skill set.
That's how you can really tell. I mean, Wakawa's been around for a good amount of time.
Absolutely.
And has so much experience. And her I mentioned yesterday, she's so sophisticated when she's skating. And it just is so easy to watch. And also, I love this music, and I love what's happening right now. This program is so cool.
I've been saying all week, I want more. I want more from her face. I need it. Because if she does, with what she's producing, now we can play ball even more.
Yes.
She's like, just kidding. Not for me today. Or, well, this morning.
Save it for later.
Yeah, say that one first. You're going to see that power out of this corner. I feel it already.
Yeah.
I was talking earlier with Jackie just about like how a momentum of a program builds so much.
Yes.
And having like a moment like that with a pop.
Yeah.
It still can be a great program even if that's the one mistake, but how much better it is when there isn't that. And it that's when you keep your audience and your judges.
Totally.
And like a clean skate before all of this with this step sequence already, I know people are just going to be on the edge of their seat. I think music choice is so big when it comes to picking music for a skater.
So big. And to your point about just kind of continuing the energy, you can have a fantastic performance with mistakes, but and you know, the most experienced skaters can continue to build that energy and connection even with those mistakes. But there's something so special about just a lights out skate, obviously.
Yeah. And what I love too, like with Wakaba's music particularly, is like you go on a journey with it. So you like start out sitting in the back of your seat, and when it builds like that, you start to lean forward. Like the music automatically makes you do that as she's creating that intensity. And at the very end, like she holds that suspension before the end pose where you can like almost have a moment of like with her. And I think that's so strategically so smart.
Yes. I'm excited to see that tonight. Rinka was so great yesterday as well.
it's so cool for me. Like when you watch skaters, particularly the day long program, I remember from my experience, like going into the locker room before the short, it was always kind of like chill. Like the boys and I were having a little chat. Like you're in the zone, but it's a little bit more laid back. And then the day of the free, I didn't speak a word to anybody other than Caitlin and my coaches. One, I was nervous, but I was so locked in and so just like in the locker room, headphones on, not speaking a word, say good luck quickly to everybody, but that's it. Like I was so selfish in the best way possible. And I think that what's so cool out here is you're seeing that with these women is that they're so honed in on what they need to do for tonight.
They look fierce.
Yeah, they do. When you see it in someone's eyes too, you almost get like goosebumps because you're like, oh, like you know what they're gonna do. It's sick.
So exciting. Nice triple loop.
It's getting quite solid so far. And she's like, oh man, not again. She was just so strong.
I've always wondered, did you guys ever speak to each other when you were competing?
So we did a little bit at the beginning. Kaylin didn't love it because I was the one speaking. But I was speaking when she realized the reason I was speaking was for me. Like I needed to verbalize things out loud for myself, like breathe, or like there would be moments if we were really having a good performance, last 20 seconds or 30, like let's go. Like you could hear it sometimes, like on some videos of like
That's so funny.
just where I just like let out a big old woo, just to get that last dig deep moment. What about you? Did you ever speak to yourself?
I did.
Out loud?
I don't think out loud, but I remember referring to myself. Yeah, right. Please help me. I remember referring to myself in the third person a lot. Like I'd be like, okay, Mariah, you got this.
Oh, I like that.
And I just felt like that was my way of connecting to myself.
I like that though.
But sometimes I wouldn't really have thoughts that I remembered at all when I was competing, so it just kind of depended. I
had to work a lot with like a sports psych just on terms of visualization, and that's something I want to touch on in a second. I just want to watch this jumping pass by Bradie. Nice. Is that like with that self-talk, first off, staying focused for me was really hard at the beginning of a program because I always, every time, hit the start pose, started the first 3 seconds, and then I would be like, whoa, I'm competing right now.
Yeah.
And I would be like, wait, this is actually happening.
Kinda hits you,
like,
yes.
And then there'd be like a moment of like, okay, focus, like this matters. And it would take like 30 seconds or so, and then you're in it, and then I'd hit the end pose.
Yeah.
And fighting that at a younger age as an athlete, I mean, I'm saying younger, like 23, 24. was very tough, and finding my anchor points within my music, or like the feeling of like just the wind or Caitlin's hands and her eyes was very tough to find that.
Yes.
Did you ever find that you had like drifting thoughts like that?
All the time. And you mentioned a sports psychologist. I mean, I would have them so frequently, and it's just about, you know, trying to regain that focus, aim your attention in the right direction. But yes,
Did you work with Alex?
I did.
Oh, aimed attention. That's why I was like, Alex helped me so much. Alex Cohen, unreal human, just
so amazing. Him and Caroline Sylvia.
Caroline's amazing. And I did a lot of work too, just like with meditation and stuff. I use like Healthy Minds app.
Yes, the Calm app.
Oh yeah, all of those, just putting a little bit in.
Bradie looks so good. I talked to her yesterday when she finished her short, and we talked about this free skate, and she mentioned how much she loves training it, which there's so much to that, because you have to love the music to perform it well, but you gotta love it to train it too. You're listening to these songs so frequently throughout the season, but she said, you know, she's been really fighting some injuries the last couple years and just been so tenacious, and she's, you know, here and doing so well. But she said last year didn't feel like this program got the opportunity to be seen because of those injuries, so she's kept it, and I'm so excited for her.
Right now, I'm just like,
some chills.
Wow, I'm just so locked in because the music's so powerful, and she is feeling it.
Yes, it's really awesome.
Love the dress too. Speaking of sports psych stuff, visualization. I talked about this with Ashley Kane. Did you visualize your program from the perspective of watching yourself do it or doing it?
It's so funny because if I were to visualize myself doing it, I tried to do it as though I was doing it myself.
Like through your own eyes?
Yes, and like through what I would experience and what I would feel.
Right.
But if I was sitting down, JL, if I was sitting down and I was visualizing a jump, I would always fall, and not like a normal fall, like a fall like where it was like, where did that come from?
Yeah.
So I would actually have to stand up and physically walk through the jump as I was visualizing it, and that's how I can make it successful.
Okay. That's so interesting. Like, again, Ashley had such a different response, and she really liked visualizing herself do it. She saw herself doing it.
Yes.
And I was like, that's so wild, because I'm the exact opposite. I visualized like what I would see from my eyes.
Same.
And like the place where I'd take my hand, and if I saw my hand moving towards where I would visualize Caitlin in front of me.
Yes.
Also, I'm a sucker for this music.
Love. This is right up Isabeau's alley. This is beautiful already. She was so good yesterday. So solid.
Beautiful. So that skating skill, very much showing through right here already. Transferring of weight, but like...
Even just that's hard.
It's
to
hard.
land a jump and then go into several different extended positions.
Yes.
And she does it while carrying flow.
Yeah. First 3 jumping passes already gone through. Think she'll take a break in a sec?
I don't know, actually. Yes.
There, I was like, usually that 3 element mark is when if there's a 3, you see some people, at least in ice dance, if you hit 4 elements, you're like, I know you're stopping now. And I think there's like so much strategy into that too, in terms of working your practices. Like, I used to be the guy in the locker room, like, hey, what are you doing on this? And the guy's like, what are you talking about? I was like, I just want to know, like, what are you missing in your run through? So then that way, like, if I know Maddie and Evan are missing their curve lift, luckily I was training with them. But like, even people I didn't know, I know the pattern when you're going to go into it. And I would just count people's elements, like, okay, they've done 3, it's their 4th element they're missing. So then I'd prep Caitlin and I, so that way we found our window immediately.
Makes sense. Yes.
And it was just so helpful to find those windows of opportunity.
Nice. That's a really difficult combination. Triple flip, half loop, triple sow.
feel like she gets a little close to the walls for my liking in a way that it's not great circle management, like lobe management.
Yeah, she's got such great jumps. It'd be nice to pull them away from the board. And not every jump is into the boards, right? This flip was a bit close, but when you have such great quality elements, let us see them. Bring them away just a bit more from the boards, maybe. Did you guys skate to this?
Yeah, we did.
I thought so.
We had a disaster skate at our first nationals using it, and then I was like, we're going to keep it.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, I was like, no, we need to do it, because I was like, I'm not going to run from it.
And good. Yeah, I love that. That's
so
awesome.
we ran it back the next year and had an unreal skate event at US Nationals. Like, we were so fine all year. Like, oh, it's cool, whatever.
Yeah,
but then
yeah.
we were at US Champs, second year doing this program,
Yeah.
and well, to the date, have never been more nervous other than the Olympic trials this last time, which is when I was more nervous than that.
Yes.
Did you get more nervous at like US Championships than you did at other events?
It's so funny. Yeah, I think so. The thing is, like, you get nervous for everything. Even if I was doing, like, the Olympic season, actually, I had changed my short program from Champs Camp to this season. And so I was advised to maybe do my short program at regionals. So I went to regionals, and I wasn't trying to qualify to nationals. You know, I had Grand Prix. But I was nervous, and I was like, I'm at regionals, and I'm feeling nervous.
Yeah.
So it's always there.
It doesn't go away, huh?
But it's funny, isn't it funny? Like,
Wow.
that was stunning. You're so nervous to make the Olympic team. You want it so bad. And then you make it, and you're like, oh, wait, now I have to go to the Olympics and compete.
I was like straight chilling, and then for U.S. Nationals, that the qualifier, I was like, well, I mean, there's so many things that go into qualifying for that Olympic team.
Yes.
It's not just your performance at U.S.
Right.
Championships.
Yeah.
But our season was already weird that year because of the injury that we sustained in the summer. But I think just in general, U.S. Championships always made me the most nervous. It was the most people that I knew there. It was the friendliest faces.
Yeah.
But it was just like, oh my gosh, like this is so nerve-wracking.
Yeah, it's like, also because it's like at home. There's something about it being home that's so exciting and also a bit more nerve-wracking.
Yes, so much. So, yeah, very much. So we are just wrapping up the second group of women here, and on the screen you can see the standings that we're currently working with going into the long program. So Mariah, like, what are we looking for? Like, who do you think can move around? There's a lot of wiggle room, I actually do think, looking at these scores now. What do they need to do in order to do that?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, there is. I mean, scores are pretty tight, which is actually really exciting. But I think the biggest thing is that we're looking for those solid performances. We're looking for fully rotated jumps and, you know, the good quality levels. Level 4 is obviously the goal, and that's what's going to get you the most points. And so really it's just about doing your elements, doing them high quality, and then getting as many points as you can. And it'll be interesting to see kind of how things shakes out if everybody does that.
I'm excited. I'm really excited for Wakaba. I think that obviously our two U.S. girls, Isabeau and Bradie, would love for them to be pushing for those standings and stay in those spots. But I do think there's a lot of...
Yeah, I mean, even looking Elyce, I mean, she's not out of this.
No,
she can pull up. There's a lot of space.
there's wiggle room. I mean, you just got to have one of those skates, and a lot of the women out here today are setting themselves up to do that for tonight.
They look great. It's going to be really exciting.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us here today. Thank you so much, Mariah. That
Yes,
was so much fun.
absolutely.
That concludes our women's practice for this morning. Up next, we're going to have the ice dance rhythm dance starting at 1 p.m. Central Standard Time. That's going to be on Peacock. Please tune in. It's going to be awesome. Really excited for all the events that are going to happen today. It's a
It's gonna be a
jam-packed
great day, yes.
It's going to be a great day. There's some exciting skating in the men's, Ilya, Cow, all
Yeah.
the other ones, the pair skating, watching for Ellie and Danny, and
We'll
ice
have
dance.
the first medals awarded today, which will be really exciting
Yes,
too.
absolutely. Ice dance, your world champions, Madison Chalk and Evan Bates. I just think across the board, it's going to be a really exciting day. So be sure to tune in later and check it out.
Yep.
We welcome you to the most important annual event in American skating. It's anyone's game when the skaters take the ice tonight at Nationals. Ham and O'Shea win the gold medal. Simply the best in the world.
The way that he moves across the ice is just like butter.
March 25th through the 30th, 2025, the world comes to Boston and the TD Garden. Over 300 of figure skating's best will compete at the 2025 ISU World Figure Skating Championships for the title of World Champion. The world's most celebrated skating competition returns to Boston and the United States for the first time in 9 years, and you can be there. Advance tickets are on sale now. Visit ISUWorlds2025.com for more information and to buy your tickets today.